Welcome to Listen by Gene Ginsberg. This audio experience and podcast is all about social media, digital marketing, entrepreneurship, and interviews with top entrepreneurs in the digital and social space. I am your host, Gene Ginsberg, digital marketing expert, #1 best-selling author, and award-winning entrepreneur. I will be sharing with you strategies, tips, and tactics on how to grow your business and your social media following. Thanks for listening. Hey everyone, Gene Ginsberg here, and welcome to another episode of Listen by Gene Ginsberg. We're happy that you're on this podcast, and we have a very special guest, Curt. How's it going, Curt?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. We're recording this. It's right before the holiday weekend, Memorial Day. We were just chatting about that right before we started recording. So I'm pretty excited. I know you mentioned you're pretty enthused about what's going to happen this weekend. So. But let's jump right in because I know we have a short amount of time. So I always like to ask our guests. The first question is set some context for where you are now. Tell us about your background.
For sure. I grew up in Kansas City. I'm a graduate of University of Missouri in Columbia, Mizzou Tigers, if you're into your college sports. I started my agency in 2001. So this year actually is 20 years. Since I founded the agency, and it's been a long, awesome, evolving journey. I've also have a really deep background in music, big passion for music and film, and even scored some short and mid-length films during my time in LA in my free time. So got a lot done. So yeah, that's always been a passion of mine. And now I started the agency in Kansas City, Missouri, which is where I'm from. So I'm from the Midwest. And about 7 to 10 years in, ended up I relocated to LA and kept my Kansas City office. So I opened a second office and then had the office in KC operating there for several years. And then eventually closed that down and moved everything out to Southern California as the kind of headquarters of my agency, Hype Life Brands. As that was kind of always my game plan. So now I live in Southern California, right in between LA, Orange County, San Diego, in coastal Oceanside, California. Got a great office here. You can see the ocean. So the journey has been winding and evolving and exciting, just as any entrepreneur journey really is.
Awesome. So tell us about your agency.
So I run Hype Life Brands. We are a progressive brand development and marketing agency, and we specialize in working with challenger brands and lifestyle startups that are looking to engage the Millenial Generation. So over the last 7 to 8 years, we've, and even beyond in the past there, we have been working with culture-driven brands that are tuned into what's going on with, they need to connect with pop culture and the people in it. And so we're never exclusively targeting millennials, but in most cases, our clients need help A, building a brand, B, taking it to market, C, once you launch something, you have to grow and grow that brand. And when we're dealing with startups, we're literally doing this from ground zero. And usually one of the biggest unique buying tribes that our clients have, which are often, visionary founders and entrepreneurs, sometimes CEOs at existing enterprises or VPs of marketing, but they're always spinning off a new brand or bringing new life into an old one. The Millennial Generation plays into that extremely heavily. It's one of the biggest people groups on the planet, and there's never been a more different gap between one generation's behavior and the generations before it. And so that's kind of the world that we have been working in and helping our clients with, and how do you create an authentic message beyond all the buzzwords and marketing speak and all this and that. How do you really consider the human on the other end of whatever the channels are that you are wanting to communicate with them, bring them in, get them interested, and also while portraying a lifestyle, a vibe, a tone that they can see themselves in, like a story that they can get into, if not a bigger purpose. Those are the things that are some of the things that are attractive to the Millennial Generation. So as an elder millennial myself, we've always found ourselves working with that kind of people group and helping companies of all shapes and sizes, better and more finely tune their communication. So when we're building brands from the ground up, it's something we can consider from day one and do it the right way.
Awesome. And so what kinds of brands do you typically work with?
We focus mostly on B2C or D2C, direct to consumer or business to consumer. So consumer, lifestyle startups, and challenger brands. So some people say, okay, well, I get the startups part. Do you guys work with startups even if I'm like at the idea stage? And the answer is absolutely. In fact, that's the best place to start because it prevents a lot of mistakes and wasted capital kind of trying to hack your way through a very complex maze to go from idea to a consumer market ready brand. And I'm talking about brand being everything people see, both tangible, intangible. A company is not built just off of a website or a logo, and a lot of times entrepreneurs kind of think that's where they need to start, but then you can really kind of hang yourself there if that's the route you go, because really building a brand, you're building a business. It starts with planning and strategy. And so that's where we start. So now challenger brands would be an existing brand that's been in the market for 5 years, 10 years, 2 years, whatever. You're not the biggest, but you definitely are going after the biggest and you're going after that market share. And it's kind of like a David and Goliath battle. So we love, my team is a predominantly senior team, typically 6 to 12 people on any given account for our clients that we're working on an annual basis. And we love a good David and Goliath battle. So those really tough nuts to crack, rethinking existing strategies that maybe have been ingrained for many years, maybe aren't working as well as they could, and really helping our clients navigate a very complex brand and marketing universe that we have today in the year 2021. Even just the Facebook versus Apple battle that's going on right now alone is a highly complex issue. And so just explaining that, we could spend an entire episode just talking about that and what are the effects. So we help our clients to come alongside them, and we lead the way, we lead the charge, and help them, take that idea and take it from a blank page to a fully realized and ready to go brand, and then take it to market, start growing that baby.
Awesome. I love that. So many good ways to take a brand to market, right? In the sense that there's lots of ideas there. I love talking about this stuff because the stuff that we do, we're a digital marketing agency, but we definitely come and become involved after the brand. And so it's like the brand's already been created, or more they're like, how do we distribute the brand? How do we get them more clients or more customers and whatnot? So, but having that like really creative concept in the beginning where you're trying to like figure out what's the best way to position the brand and to have a story or a brand story. So I love talking about that kind of stuff since we don't really do a lot of that on our end. The next question is about your, of course, area of expertise, branding and bringing products or brands to market. So as I mentioned right before we started chatting offline, is one of the, our audiences are typically businesses, small businesses, startups, or people who are trying to start a business. What is one recommendation you would give to, just a quick recommendation, a couple minutes, to someone who is listening who might be starting a new brand and something that they can implement, in the next week or the next couple of days in their company? This podcast is brought to you by the Digital Marketing Method monthly group coaching program, your methodology for growing your business and your social media following. Join me and my group of supportive entrepreneurs and learn how you can grow your business and your social media following, where we cover topics such as Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, email marketing, and so much more. Go to dmgroup.online, dmgroup.online.
Well, a couple things. One, I would say, and this is a little bit of a longer play, but I would really think long and hard about at least talking to someone. We love to talk to anybody that gives us, a call or a chat on our site or whatever. even if it's not a good fit, just trying to help them, give them some resources. We actually have a startup resources section on our site for folks that we do or don't work with, but it's tools that we actually use day to day and that we recommend. So, reach out to somebody that is an expert in the space, not somebody who's just a tactical, like a web designer, but somebody who thinks strategically and understands the, like you said, digital marketing or just marketing at large, that universe to kind of help guide you. So that's a bigger picture item. More actionable and, starting out, I think if you have something that's kind of in play and you're, say, offering services out into the world, just because I just had this conversation with somebody, be sure that you don't just think about Instagram, my website, as your only marketing channels or vehicles. I won't say who, but talking to somebody and, I asked them, hey, you guys are doing X, Y, and Z. Are you on Yelp and are you using things like Yelp and Thumbtack? Because you need to know your audience and really get in their head, even ask them if you can, hey, where did you find us? That's something that's very valuable that you can ask no matter what you're doing, whether you're B2B or B2C, honestly. And so, asking them where they found you, but also thinking about those other third-party channels, because some people use Facebook like a search engine, and some people use Yelp like a search engine. I personally have used Thumbtack, to find somebody to work on my wife and I's place, because we couldn't find anybody on any other platform, or searching because they weren't doing, the work, putting in the work for organic SEO, which is a whole nother topic and takes months and months of focus. So really think like your customer. Don't just go, okay, I'm starting a business. I'm going to go set up an Instagram account and a Facebook account, and it's going to be great. Because unless you're putting a lot of advertising dollars behind your posts in social media, for example, you're never going to reach anybody, especially starting out when you have 0 followers. It takes time, concentration, focus, and work to build that following up. And then even when you do, as you probably know, you're only going to reach a small percentage of those followers organically. So then that again comes in where help with advertising and marketing is, you're better off asking somebody for assistance, in my opinion, than trying to do it alone, because that's how Facebook makes a lot of money off of those kind of mistakes.
Yes, so, that is
they love
absolutely.
They love it.
That's how Mark Zuckerberg actually got rich, right? It's just on the backs of people who don't know what they're doing on Facebook.
The boost button. That's the boost button. It's the casino.
Yeah, for him it is. Yeah, the house always wins.
Right.
But so true. I cannot agree with you more. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing. What can you do now if you're a new business owner or someone starting a company? Yeah, ask for help. That's usually something that even I did that when I was just getting started. I think when you're like, I think it's a mindset thing, right? I know for me it was maybe I wasn't making a lot of money in the beginning, and so it's like, well, I don't really have enough money to pay anybody, so it's like I'll do this myself. So it kind of became this like mindset of just like being within your own lane, if you will. But really, there's plenty of people out there who are willing to help even for free. So I think it's just getting outside that shell and thinking, who can help me, and even if it's just a conversation or advice from someone who can support you. So absolutely,
right.
get support. But so true. I hear this all the time when I engage with clients, or just even like, let's say in Facebook groups. I'm part of a couple of entrepreneur Facebook groups, and it's like, hey, can someone help me with my Google ads? And it's like, well, before we start doing Google ads, or maybe you've been running Google ads and that's great, I always say, like, let's take a look at your strategy. What is your goal? Who is your target market? Then I can say maybe Google ads is the place to go, or Facebook ads, or Instagram ads, or TikTok ads. But before we do that, we have to take, it's kind of like going to the doctor, right? Like, hey, doctor, could I have, Xanax? It's like, but before I can give you Xanax, I need to diagnose that you need Xanax, right?
Exactly.
So it's
exactly.
like, people don't get it. It's like a diagnosis, right? You have to diagnose what's wrong and then provide a prescription or, like a game plan, right? You can't just be like, here's some Xanax because you asked.
Right, 100%. Yeah, and there's so many tools and SaaS platforms and we just get bombarded with them, and we actually kind of try to go through them and sift through them and like, okay, this has a place here, this has a place there, we could use this for this, da 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 da. But yeah, that you got to be really careful because people definitely self-prescribe these things, and you're completely right. Like, Google AdWords and pay-per-click doesn't make sense for every client or every business. It can be great for some, and for others, it just
flat.
It might be flat, and you might waste. You can very quickly waste $500 or $5,000 on any of these, especially social media and definitely Google AdWords. And they try to. You got to understand they're a business, and they're in business to make money, and they sell advertising and data.
Yep.
So, but it's very complicated. And when I'm guessing you do this as well. If you're running Google Ads, it's something that has to be optimized, intended to, and monitored and babysat every day and tweaked and polished, especially in the first 30, 45 days while you're really optimizing things. It's not something you just, like the Google, the AdWords, the smart campaigns that they try to set up beginners on. We always tell people to steer away from that because it's just, you just put in your website and some words and voila.
You get
sales.
A shitty campaign.
Right, exactly. That you can't control, by the way. It's like a little automated radio controlled car or something that you don't have the controller for. So yeah, you really have to be careful there. And that's again why I say just, finding somebody, even if they say, hey, our rates, our fees, our retainers are this or that, and it's not for you right now, it definitely a lot of people will give you a little bit of advice, and then maybe down the road you can come back to somebody that you build a relationship with. That's a lot of what we're really about, is building relationships with our clients, not just let me take on your 2-week project. And because it's hard we always want to be able to have an impact, and if we can't, it's something we'll probably turn down. Because doing all the heavy lifting involved with getting a business off the ground takes 360 degrees of kind of control, especially with marketing and technology, because you cannot separate these two anymore. I think I just made a post on LinkedIn about that over the weekend. It's just like these things are so ingrained, because like you were talking about TikTok ads or Google ads, like as soon as you start talking about that, then now we have to set up, conversion tracking, pixels. We got to check them all, make sure they're all working, event firing, so what the heck is going on,
Yeah. I totally agree with that. It's interesting time to explain that to clients, because a lot of times I don't know, sometimes it's just trying to explain it to them. They're not I don't want to say they don't get it, but they almost expect that by tomorrow they'll be a millionaire, and you're like, this is not I'm gonna make you a millionaire, It's just, this is another channel for you that's besides billboards and retail and newspapers. The other ones will work as well, but it's still not necessarily a path to millionaire tomorrow. So it's there's a misconception.
Exactly. And as I say, if that were true, everybody'd be doing it.
Yeah. It's just better conversions online versus a newspaper, but it's still, you have to put in the work to do it.
Yeah.
So we probably have the same conversations with clients all the time when it comes to trying to explain that. But I get those all the time. It's like, oh, I need Google ads. I'm like, well, why do you need Google ads? Can you explain that to me succinctly and in clarity?
Yeah.
And nobody can usually.
We definitely track in there. But my question is, let's back up a little
bit. Let's backtrack here.
Tell me about the business. What's the concept, and then we can figure out what makes the most sense from where to go from here and strategically, because there's always more channels than you will ever as a startup founder or an entrepreneur, or even a challenger brand CEO, rest assured there are more channels and things to spend money on from an advertising perspective than you will ever have the budget for.
Yep.
And so we try to pick, the most strategic, potent channels that make the most sense. And things like social media don't always make that cut.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily. It's true. It's not always the case. Everyone thinks it's like, oh well, it's gonna be Facebook ads. I'm like, no, it's not necessarily gonna be Facebook ads.
Right.
Like they have this like preconceived notion about it. So, and then the last question I'd like to ask before we wrap up is, what is your prediction for the industry? And it's a kind of a loaded question because it could be your specific industry, but you can talk about living forever or terraforming Mars or self-driving cars, whatever is on top of mind for you. If this is an open-ended question.
Yeah. I like the terraforming cars. That's an interesting one.
Terraforming Mars, yes.
Terraforming Mars, yes.
Mars, yes.
Yeah.
And self-driving cars.
Rockets. I don't know. No. We're in the brand building and startup industry, as I would say, which is a horizontal, I suppose you could say. But I do think that in 2021, and we're starting to see a little bit of percolation right now. I think just we've gotten past tax day, and these are things that kind of slow the economy down a little bit. But we're starting to get people thinking, finally, we've had a very weird year, with COVID and all that. But I think we're all kind of coming out of the fog now, and everybody's trying to, I can see the gears moving slowly, despite what's going on in the market or with, Dogecoin or all this crap. It's like, I look at, brands and businesses, to quote, I believe, Joe Biden way back when he was running with Obama, is the engine that drives the American economy. That's small business, and startups fall into small business, even if they are going to become something bigger. Most of our clients are aiming to launch nationally, because there's so much potential to do it that way. So I think that we're going to see entrepreneurs kind of raise their heads up finally and start to come back to those ideas, those visions, those things. Maybe they were thinking about it during COVID, but things were so weird and so dead, I guess, in that whole year. It was like very surreal because I've never experienced anything like that in my life, as an 80s baby. Now we've been through, as an agency, three, that being the third kind of major economic rattling. And so, I think we're kind of all coming out of this period. I think people are starting to get back to the normal. And therefore, I think we'll see more pickup in the economy, and what people are doing. Because even where we are in Southern California, it's been in California at large, actually, because we've been in lockdown far longer than a lot of businesses or states. Have. I feel like it was like 6 to 8 weeks ago. We're still actually in lowered capacity, even if you're indoor dining. So, I think we're going to be coming back out of all this stuff, and things are going to kind of, especially, I guess, June 15th, California is lifting a bunch of stuff. So, we'll start to get back, even though it'll be like a delayed start to 2021. I think the latter half of 2021 is going to be highly potent and a lot of inertia building up there, and kind of everybody starting to go from a crawl to a walk to a run, and we'll be kind of into it fourth quarter, pretty hot and heavy. So that's my hope. And I think that's what we're seeing right now.
I love it. I agree too. I think that's going to be the case because we've kind of been in lockdown for the last year and a half, and it was one way or another, limited capacity. So I totally agree with you. And I looking forward to what 2021 has to offer. So last question is, how can our audience get in touch with you?
Sure. Can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm on there, Curt, C-U-R-T, and my last name is Cuscino, C-U-S-C-I-N-O. And you could also just look up Curt Hype Life, Curt Hype Life Brands, Hypelife, can also visit our website, hypelifebrands.com. We've got a on-site chat feature, so you can reach out and connect with us. A lot of times I pick that up directly. Just something we do because I like to talk to people, entrepreneurs, and it's just easier that way. Or you can email us at engage@hypelifebrands.com if you want to schedule time to have a conversation.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here. Great conversation. I love where your head is at when it comes to 2021. I'm very excited about this year as well. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me very much.